Hello, Steve White's 89 here. Now, there's been a little bit of talk about Star Trek in the last week or so, mostly from comicbook.com, which is kind of, I think they're owned by CBS. So I don't always take them too seriously, but they do usually get some good interviews because they have connections to CBS. So, the producer of Picard, Akiva Goldsman, has come out and he's said that Picard isn't a sequel to The Next Generation. Now, this is not really news to a lot of fans. It may be news to some other people, some casual fans, because when they promoted this film, this series to start off with, basically a lot of people weren't happy with Discovery. They didn't want a prequel. They didn't want to go backwards. They wanted something that was in canon. And they turned around and said, oh wait, we're going to give you a Picard series. We're going to go into the future and we're going to bring back Patrick Stewart, and it's going to be based after Nemesis, and you're going to love it. And it basically was sold as the antidote to Discovery. And then it slowly became apparent that it was being made by the same people in the same style, and that Patrick Stewart himself didn't want to do anything resembling the Picard or Next Gen that we had seen. He oddly stated that he wanted to honour that. He took it very seriously that the show was respectable and it would be honoured, but they didn't want to repeat the Next Generation. So that was kind of disappointing, and a lot of people smelt blood in the water and fear in the air. And a lot of people went after the series at that point, and then the previews came out and it didn't look that far removed from Next Gen in a way. But the other factor was that the CBS Paramount merger was happening, and apparently they were kind of told, just make it Star Trek because we will sort out the licensing later. Just get something on the air that fans will watch and like, and sort of fix the mess that you created with Discovery. So I'm not shocked to hear this, but it's also a little bit unnerving, especially when you just read the headline, but they're basically saying that it's a different series, it's its own experience, it's slower and more lyrical and more character driven than Discovery and the JJ movies, but it's still different from Next Gen, mostly because it's serialized like Deep Space Nine and Discovery. Although I don't think serialization works with Star Trek. I think the Alien of the Week, Planet of the Week works best for Star Trek because you can come in at any point. And it's one of the big problems with shows like Star Trek is if you need to watch a whole season or a whole series or read a bunch of books to understand it, you're not going to attract new audience and general audience. The old format where every show had to basically tell its own story and you had to be able to enter with that was a lot better, I think. So, but the popular common thing is to do a serialized story so people can binge it all in one go and then forget about it, instead of having it in their life every week and just, I just feel like watching a Star Trek episode. We don't really do that. Supposedly people don't do that anymore, so we're just supposed to follow that trend and not sort of see how that's actually a bad thing for the series. But that's the sort of thing that they're sort of touting as the difference. So again, it's nothing really new, but it's a little bit of a worry. But and the other thing, Simon Pegg went on record basically saying many things, but he basically said he hadn't heard anything about the new Star Trek films. So although one of the studio chiefs or whoever for CBS Paramount was saying that we do have 2 Star Trek films in the works, he hadn't heard anything. And I've suddenly lost my articles that I had up. Oh, well, I remember what they said. Basically, he said he's talking out his ass, but he hasn't heard from anyone, and it doesn't appear to him that his cast is going to be used in the new film being written by what's his name? Noah somebody. This is why I had the article up and it's just closed on me and gone. But yes, the guy who's been brought in to supposedly write and direct the new Star Trek film, Simon Pegg is saying it's not Star Trek 4. They've brought him in to write something for Star Trek, but it's not Star Trek 4 with that cast. It's not a continuation of the JJ films, and he doesn't know what it is. He doesn't know anything about it, so therefore he's actually talking out his ass and doesn't actually know it isn't Star Trek 4 and going to involve the cast. But you would think they would start letting them know, we're going to need you back for this movie, if they need them back for the movie. So who knows? Now, Tarantino, he's also saying the Tarantino film is still being talked about at Paramount, but Tarantino hasn't talked to anyone. He's walking away. He's sort of distancing himself from it because he kind of feels like he's finished his film career, and his last film, he just wants to be more of an epilogue to his whole career rather than trying to do a tentpole, or because I just didn't see doing a tentpole franchise film as part of his sort of film legacy. It just didn't seem to work anyway. So he sort of walked that back a bit. But Simon Pegg seems to just be speculating whether people just asked him questions and he just felt like he had to give an answer, or whether he felt the need to share this, or I don't know where it's exactly come from, but it's really sort of a bit of non-news. But it also speaks for itself because they're not talking to him and the other cast members about anything. So one of the rumours is that a Bad Robot has its contract with Paramount has run out, and because they didn't make a film, it's kind of lapsed. And although they can pick it back up and make another film with Paramount, Paramount doesn't have to. So all this talk of a new Star Trek 4 and the Tarantino film are all just to try and get investors interested and try and get something up so they can take it to Paramount, and hopefully Paramount says yes, and then they get to renegotiate their contract and stay involved with Paramount Star Trek, because they're getting paid to make the films. Even if the films flop, they make money. It's profitable for them. Doesn't matter if they destroy the IP, if they make bad films that people hate, they basically make money out of it. And they basically rent IPs and use them to create their own films, get paid for it, and create unique merchandise that only they get money for, while ditching the designs and characters and things that the franchise already had, that they would have to pay licensing fees to other people for. So they create their version and then they get to monetize it. So the rumor is obviously they want to keep involved in Paramount because they've made money off Star Trek, even though the films have bombed, and I think Paramount lost money over Beyond initially. They didn't, because they just got paid to make it. Is what I'm hearing. So there's a lot of talk about Star Trek 4 and the Tarantino film, but there's also a lot of talk that it's just talk and that they're just trying to get people interested so they can try and get something happening, because there's nothing happening. I just hope Paramount just finds someone else and just starts again and just makes a truly Star Trek film which is about exploration, humanity, the future, a hopeful future, something people want to experience, want to be in, a place people want to go, a world people want to live in, not what we've seen from Discovery and JJ, where it's just all explosions and action and dark and Mirror Universe and Section 31 and unlikable characters and places you don't want to be, a universe you wouldn't want to live in. I'm really hoping they change that, because I miss the old Star Trek. And I'm really hoping that happens. I guess that's all I've got to say. Because, God, what was that other... I had one other point about the films and beyond. And I've lost it, so I guess I just have to end the video there. Okay, so there's a little bit of talk, but it doesn't really amount to much. There's really not much happening, and we are just waiting to see where they go next and what the next step is. And I just hope it's in the direction of Star Trek. And I realized what I was going to say was, the problem is the film template has become Wrath of Khan, and Wrath of Khan is not